You get pregnant with twins and you're in a 1-bedroom place. Oops, time to go. But there are a lot of people that maybe as they're just going through their life and progressing, that they can start planning, and it might take a few years to do it. The big thing that I'm trying to get first time home buyers and people who are trying to buy a home to understand is hire somebody to help you out and start working with those people early. And that way you can work with them for a couple of years to figure out what the best plan is.
Welcome to Inspired Choice today. I'm your host, Caroline Biesalski, here to bring you authentic stories, surprising lessons, and powerful takeaways to fuel your journey in business and life. In each episode, I'll take you from one inspiring guest to the next, blending their experiences with my expertise to uncover practical strategies you can use right away. Whether you're starting out or stepping up, stay tuned for insights and actionable tips that make a difference. And stick around until the end for a special freebie just for our listeners. Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline, and my today's guest is David Sidoni, and I'm so happy that he said yes to our interview. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful, getting ready to feel inspired for another day.
Oh, yes, I am inspired already by your presence, and I would like to introduce you to the audience, of course. Where are you? North America's leading voice for first-time home buyers. You are on a mission to disrupt real estate by empowering buyers with insider knowledge. As the host of the #1 podcast, How to Buy a Home, you have helped millions unlock their dream of home ownership. Welcome to the Inspired Podcast, David Sidoni.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, you are welcome. I'm happy to speak with you today about homes. And my first question, or other things, of course, my first question is, what's the biggest myth about buying a home that first-time buyers need to stop believing right now?
Well, I think that's been the biggest part of my mission is helping people figure out that there's so much negativeness with what people think they can't do. And this is all over the world. I mean, I do this in North America. I have friends that do this in Australia and in the UK and other parts of Europe. But the problem is that when the people who work in real estate, their goal is to sell the big fancy homes. So everybody keeps thinking about that goal and they forget that, there's a ladder of the way things work. And the people that need the most help who've never done it before are the first time home buyers. So the biggest myth that they hear is that they need too much money to put for a down payment. In America, they need a certain type of credit score, or you need a certain type of job or a certain type of income. I found that pretty much all over the world, there's a lower bar. There's less requirements than most people think because they do a little bit of search online. They read one thing, they get discouraged, and then they just stop looking for another year or two.
Yes, that's so true. So when I look at my own story, of course, I have a story. I first bought an apartment, and then I was convinced I will never never get a loan again or a mortgage. I don't know how you call this there. And then I watched, but I did the steps you recommend. So I started watching my credit score. I'm in Germany, by the way. It's the same or
Yes.
similar. And and I watched it for 1 year, 2 years. I improved this credit score. So this was one thing. And the other thing was also, I think there's a difference. I don't know how you see it,
Mhm.
if there's a difference between buying a house that's already there or constructing a house. Yeah.
Yeah, it's new build
Mhm.
versus resale. So if you're buying someone's home that is already there, now in the new build, there's a couple. Well, there's multiple different ways. There's custom new build. There's buy land and build, and then there's builders that go and they build like 4 or 5 models and they build like a home track. It really depends on the land and where you live. You know, some places in the United States have huge land, and so you can build a custom home. But some people, I mean, that's the thing. After World War II, here in America, we invented the suburbs, and people love to come and live in suburbia. So those homes are already built. So most of the time, if that's where you want to live, you're buying somebody else's or what we call a resale home.
Yes, when you mentioned suburbia, so of course I have to mention the song, my favorite band. So we can we can talk
Yes.
about, yeah, because yeah, I learned English with song lyrics, by the way, and that was at that time. So for you, you are focused on first time home buyers, so there's no difference. You work with people, or you talk with people whether they build a house or they buy a house that's already there. Yes.
Yeah, there
Mhm.
are several different programs in North America for the people who are building the homes. So I help educate and walk people through that process. And then for the people who are looking in suburbia, the main thing that I try to focus on is baby steps, small things that people can do. Like, I think too many people go, okay, I'm going to buy a house, and then they want to do their credit score, their debt, and their savings, and they do try to do it all in a week or two. You know, taking your credit score, that takes time. You know, when you change something, your score doesn't magically switch in the next 24 hours. So, and there might be different tips that you do that will take 6 months. So, I tell people all the time, no, you're not going to buy a home this weekend, but you should do some steps right now, even though you're not going to go look at houses for another 6 months or maybe even another year.
Yes, I understand because I've been through this and I was afraid of building a house. So we were looking for old old houses or used, I don't know how you call this. But it took 7 years. Yes, the story was it took 7 years to buy a house. Yes, to buy a house. 7 years.
Wow. Yeah, it's everybody has some people move for wants and some people move for needs. And I think trying to help people stay motivated. That's why I was so excited when I saw your podcast. It's it's as much psychological as it is financial. You need to stay motivated and you need to stay inspired. And the only way to do that is to sit down and go over all of your goals. Why do I want to move? There's a lot of people that move because they have to. You know, you get pregnant with twins and you're in a one bedroom place. Oops, time to go. But there are a lot of people that maybe as they're just going through their life and progressing, that they can start planning, and it might take a few years to do it. The big thing that I'm trying to get first time home buyers and people who are trying to buy a home to understand is hire somebody to help you out and start working with those people early. And that way you can work with them for a couple years to figure out what the best plan is.
Wow, I love your answer. And I think this is also what most people overlook. So to say that they can ask for support in the beginning and not when it's too late. So to say when they are demotivated, and because it is really frustrating. Mm, for for us, the case was like we were not, how can I say, we were not chosen to buy the house. So other people were
Yes.
faster, or something like that. But you talked about mindset as well, or we can also say like something like destiny. It was not, it was not the thing was that I'm now in my built house, or my self-constructed with my own plans, and in the rooms I want to have. But I had to grow into that person that accepts the idea. Yeah.
And and doing that plan with another professional who can explain to you, "Oh, this is all the things that happen when you build your house, and these are all the things that happen when you buy somebody else's house." When you understand all the details of that, then that helps you make your you know, and is that me ringing? I don't think so.
Yes, you
Oh,
ring. There are clients calling and they
they
want to
all
celebrate with you because they found their house. I know how exciting this is.
I apologize for that. I thought I had it on don't disturb, but, I've gotta be inspiring people all day long, so it happens.
I love that, and this is why I created the podcast. I don't know what's happening, and today I already mixed up my questions because so I for the other guests there were these were no questions. These were like I don't know. AI produced something weird. So let's have a look at my next question for you. Maybe it helps. Yeah, I said your podcast has helped millions navigate the complex home buying process. What's the first insider secret you wish every buyer knew before they start?
I think, it has to go kinda with the myths. Uh, there are myths about how much money you need. That's a big deal. If you read one article and you say, okay, I need for the house I want, I need to save, $40,000 or euros or whatever. If you just do that and it turns out there are other programs and you could have bought something for 5 or 10,000, then understanding how to beat those myths, that's probably the biggest thing, but the way to do that is in your first step is instead of thinking so much about, okay, what is my loan gonna be? What is my interest rate gonna be? And what is the house gonna be? The first thing you wanna think about is, who are the professionals that I wanna bring into this deal with me? Who are the professionals that I'm going to hire that are going to know way more than I do? The one thing I find in this age of convenience where we have everything on our fingertips is people end up trying to learn, like if you were going to go get surgery, people try to learn how to do the surgery as opposed to trying to figure out who's the best doctor to help me with this. And then once you get in there, just lay on the table and let them tell you how everything's going to go.
That's the best analogy. Yes, I remember people looking up because nowadays it exists. You can watch YouTube videos about how the surgery
Yes.
is going to be, and then it is awful. You don't want to do this anymore. No. So lay on the table. I like this very much.
I
Yes.
actually had a doctor that listened to the podcast and reached out to me for some advice. And I gave him some advice and I talked to him about hiring the right team. So he went out and hired the right team. But of course, he'd been doing his own research for years. So at the second or third meeting with the real estate team, he had all these questions from the internet. And suddenly he stopped in the middle of the question and he told me this story. And he said, these are like my patients who go to WebMD and read about all their symptoms and come in and tell me what's wrong. And he goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm turning into one of those people." And the thing about WebMD that doctors will tell you all the time is that's great. You can learn a lot. You can figure some things out. But the 20 years of experience in the medical field will be able to take you from a potential diagnosis to the actual treatment. And that's what hiring the right team, both on the estate side of finding the home and the lending side for figuring out what are the best finances for you.
Wow, it's so important what you just said because we only think we know everything, but we know nothing, of course. And there are experts helping us. And this is exactly we cannot know what we don't know. And in the beginning, you mentioned needs versus wants. It's always like we sell the client what they want, but we give them what they need, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing when this was I'd been doing real estate for, a couple decades and I got to the point when I wanted to help people. So I all I'm doing is giving away everything for free. Now there are some people that listen to all my information and they still try to do it on their own. And that's I understand that. There's a lot of people that are very proactive, but I think that the industry has gotten a little bit of a bummer reputation, and that's fine. So that means instead of thinking so hard about you're going to inspect the heck out of your home, inspect the heck out of your real estate agent first, and go ahead and interview 5, 6, 7 people, and then when you find that right person, it's such. I mean, everything's better in life with a collaboration, and you'll be able to feel like you're going through this in the correct way.
Yes, that means you don't have to do it alone. That's so true. And what you said about find 7 people or talk to 7 people, it is, I would say it's a distraction. I call it distraction, but you can also call it procrastination. It is like you are not deviating. Yes, something around the real thing that you have to do. It's avoidance, right? It's avoidance. And then you end up they end up with you anyways because you are the expert. Yeah, they cannot escape.
I have a lot of people that'll talk to me first and then talk to a whole bunch of other people, and then they'll come back to me and I'll say, "Oh, by the way, you're not in my area. You're someplace else. So I'm not even going to be the person to help you with this. So now go interview people over here." And I always say though, I think that people in other parts of the world are better, have a leg up on Americans, because most Americans only know one language. And people who know multiple languages, that's better, because when you try to buy a house, there's a whole bunch of words that are supposed to be in your first language that don't make any sense. You have to learn a whole new vocabulary. So I think having the right person with you is, and who can be an interpreter for you sometimes, super important.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. And of course, I have another question for you. Let
Yes.
me see what it is. In a rapidly changing real estate market, what strategies can first time buyers use to gain an advantage and avoid costly mistakes?
Well, you talked about how when you were putting in an offer, how you originally didn't get the offer at one point. Understanding where the market is going is really important. Right now, like in the United States, we're at a little bit of a slow time. The forecast, the predictions are that come the spring and the summer of 2025, there are going to be bidding wars. So, if for some people who feel like the worst thing they can do is lose their dream house, not get the offer, the best thing you can do is actually practice, talk through all of the ways that you can make your offer look more attractive before you find the house. Sit down and go over the game plan. Think of yourself like a sports team. You don't just run out on the field and then start making up plays. You do it ahead of time, you know? And then the biggest thing, I think, to avoid the costly mistakes, like the people who end up with something that ends up costing them thousands of dollars, is to understand your area's inspection process. You really have to, you might fight like crazy to get a home. And then I mean, I'm often really blown away at how many people will choose a home inspector based on their price. And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, we're buying a $400,000 home, and you had 3 inspectors, and you chose one because he was $100 cheaper than the other one." It's a $400,000 home. Make sure that when you write your contract, you know how long you have before you fully commit to the home. Most contracts, you get, a looky-loo period, a buyer beware period. Understand that, and that's the biggest way that you'll avoid mistakes.
Wow, what a great answer. Thank you so much. It saves us time and worries as well working with someone like you. And tell us, please, do you have coaches or mentors for yourself? And who was the best coach you ever had?
I started with my coach in real estate before I had my real estate license, and it was the best thing I ever did. I was doing a training at the place where I was going to work, and one of the big coaches just happened to be coming to my town that that day. And it was a meeting for all the realtors in Southern California. And his name's Brian Buffini, and he has a coaching program in North America that is based on not trying to go out there and put your name on billboards, but to work so that the clients love you and they want to refer you to other people. And I think having that heart of service from the beginning, that was something that helped grow my career. And then and then currently, I'm just listening to podcasts all the time. I find other real estate guys, I find other inspirational podcasts. I mean, from motivation to self-help to mental health to growth, self-growth. I listen to marketing podcasts because I love using social media, but man, it gets crazy out there. So, I listen to all kinds of people because the I find that each day I'm getting new mentors and new coaches. I'll listen to everyone from Gary Vaynerchuk to social media marketing world, and I listen to there's these two guys, Brian and Mark, who have a podcast that is like, hey, don't be mean. That's their podcast. They're realtors, and they're like, stop doing it wrong. Just be nice to people. They're awesome. So I love exploring every single day.
Oh, yes, me too. Thank you so much. And I love learning from podcasts as well, of course. I follow it since 2007, where they
Ooh, you were
introduced.
early.
I'm a podcast addict, but it took me 17 years to start my own because I was labeled as shy and I accepted that label. So now here I am. And I heard you talking about Southern California. This is where the podcast was created in San Diego. I received this intuition and 3 a.m. in the night. And since then, I'm unstoppable. And I want to know from you, where can we find you when people want to reach out to you after listening to this episode?
Well, I'm not surprised that you found your inspiration in San Diego. That's a darn fine city. It's about an hour and a half south for me. Everything for me is at How to Buy a Home. Spell it out, HOWTOBUYA home, HOME. Howtobuyahome.com. Everything's there. Lots of free information. It's a great way to get information without feeling like you have to talk to someone. And then when you listen to the podcast, after 3 or 4 episodes, you're going to go, hey, David keeps telling me to talk to someone. And then you'll start hiring somebody.
Wow, what a great message. Again, thank you so much. And I have to tell you, and please reach out to David, he's amazing. He shares not only in his podcast, but when you hire him and when you work with him, it's amazing. So I wanted to share, I already bought some houses. Let's say I have experience, and here's the but thing. It was in Germany. What if my intention is to buy my first home in, let's say, California, okay? Let's say California in the US. So you are my go-to person. And I
Wha-
see this. I have new plans now.
Well, one of my favorite episodes, I interview people who went through the process. And one of my favorite episodes was an American citizen who was in the Air Force. She was in Germany, and I recommended someone to her. I believe it was in Northern California. I recommended some people for her to interview. She bought the home while she was finishing up her time in the Air Force in Germany, bought the home on video while she was in Germany.
Okay, so I don't have to be there, but I love to be there, of course.
You don't have to. I'm saying we can get started.
Yeah.
We can start the process and kind of narrow things down. And then, although you might end up where I am in Orange County, or we might send you back down to beautiful San Diego.
No, I tell you, I know this is on air, but I can share my favorite city and it's really my intention. It is Seal Beach, okay?
I grew
I
up in
don't
Los
know where you
Alamitos. I grew up in Los Alamitos, and I lived in Seal Beach. I went to high school there. I'm
I
I'm 25 minutes south now, but Seal Beach is the jewel of Southern California. People don't realize it's a little tiny, small community packed in between all. I love Seal Beach. I used to live on Fifth Avenue and walk to all the restaurants. It's the best.
I spent 3 months, but we can talk later. I spent
Oh,
3 months in that area in 2023, and I fell in love, of course. And this is my, we can talk about goal setting because this is my last question to you.
yes.
It's not about my goals, but you are one, like a manifestation. And I know now
Yep.
what is the word? Who to turn to or where to turn to. So you
Yeah.
are my person. Yes, of course. Thank you so much. Now about your goals and intentions. Do you set goals and what is one of your next projects?
One of the this started the how to buy a home. It started as an educational extra piece to my business of selling real estate. It's now become a company. And so my goal is to turn this into one of the largest North American education companies for a disrespected and ignored group of people, first time home buyers. So for me, it's a matter of podcasts are wonderful. So now I'm going to look to expand other things like YouTube and social media and my website. So it's going to take a little time to develop all those things. We're 5 years, almost 6 years into the podcast now, and what I found is podcast people are wonderful and loyal, but there's a whole lot of people out there that aren't listening, and they watch YouTube and they look online. So the goal is to grow that I can help as many people as possible achieve what they want and break the myth that it's something that is not doable.
Wow, because it is possible, and I'm also an evidence, even though it's not in Southern California yet, but it's we have dreams and we have to dream big, of course. Thank you so much for our interview. I forgot about the time. It is flying. And now it's time for your final thought to the audience, please.
I believe that continuing education is important, but I believe that continued motivation, finding daily snippets like this podcast and other things out there that whether it's a song or a podcast, every single day, make sure that you are inputting those things into your life, and you'll be amazed at how much more energy you have.
So true. Thank you so much, David Sidoni.
Thank you.
And see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to Inspired Choice today. I'm thrilled to have you on this journey of growth and transformation. Don't forget to hit follow or subscribe to stay connected and never miss an episode. And here's something special. Grab your free 20-minute breakthrough session with me. It's designed to help you kickstart or level up your business. Just check out the show notes for more. Until next time, keep making those inspired choices. See you in the next episode.